Howdy. Welcome to episode number 86 of Fight for a Happy Life, the show that believes even a little martial arts makes life a whole lot better. Ando here, and today I am so happy to bring you an interview with Sensei Seth Adams. Do you know Sensei Seth? You probably do. This young man is blazing a path through the world of martial arts with a friendly attitude and some scary skills. I had a chance to sit down with him to find out how he got here and where he's going. I think this conversation is inspiring and a little bit of fun, so I hope you can stick around and join us. Sensei Seth, welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
The name of this show is Fight for a Happy Life, so I always like to start off by asking, how do you define a happy life, and how is your fight going, sir?
My fight's going really well. I have to admit, good fight so far. As far as what a happy life is, for me, it's doing something that I really enjoy, and I have a good idea of goals, things that I can do, experiences that are long-term going to be, what I'm really looking for. Short-term, setting myself up for taking risks, doing things that are long-term, like I mentioned, what are really going to make me happy, I guess, right? Doing things that essentially are not necessarily have to fulfill me right now.
That's fine. First of all, the fact that you, as a younger fellow, and let's get that out of the way because I hate your guts.
Right.
How old a man are you nowadays?
I'm 25.
Okay. So for a 25-year-old to already be thinking so long-term, I think is already a testament to what kind of person you are. You're already thinking long-range goals, and you're already breaking them down into small pieces. So I already find that fascinating. And it's interesting, if people don't know, that you, I believe, graduated with an MBA. Is that right?
I do, yeah.
So,
I have an MBA that I've never touched in my life.
Right. So for having the character to get through college and then graduate studies, position yourself with this MBA, and then to say, yeah, but I'm serious. I'd like to do something I really love to do. So you seem to be taking this martial arts path. So I find that very interesting. I think maybe other people would. So can you speak to that? Like, why is there no pressure for you, or is there pressure? How have you handled the pressure to do something, quote unquote, legit, and jump into the MBA track as opposed to applying that, I guess, to what you really love, which is the martial arts?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, the MBA, I have to give all credit to my mother because, so I graduated undergrad and, I kind of always in the back of my head, my mom had just imprinted that in me. You should get an MBA. You should get an MBA. Something to set you apart from everybody else. And I was like, okay. And then it got to the point where, I was planning on it, but my mom was like, and this wasn't the exact reason. She was like, if you don't get an MBA, I'll take you out of the will. And for me, it wasn't about like being in the will. For me, it was about like, okay, this means a lot to you. So that's why I started getting my MBA. And then about halfway through, I was like, man, it's not that I hate all of this. It's that I feel like it was fulfilling. Like I enjoyed it. I thought a lot of it was really cool. I liked the learning of it. But when it came down to the formality of it, and pretty much just how everything was so tight-knit. It was very suity. And I'm not a very suity guy. And
I see that.
Yeah, right. I started teaching kids motor skill development about halfway through, early when I was in grad school. And then that place shut down, and I was in marketing school. And I was like, man, I really wish that I could just teach kids karate, but karate is one of those weird things where if you're not working on a specific a foundation, I guess is a good way to put it, like one of those martial arts schools that it's a franchise pretty much. If you're not in a franchise, it's difficult to move and then teach for somebody else. It's kind of hard to just walk your way into a job teaching karate, something that's so style specific. So I was like, I wish I could just hang out and drive around and teach kids at their house or at a Parks and Rec or at a park or, wherever. Because I just had a conversation about somebody who's like, yeah, I used to teach swimming. I would just go to their house and teach pool in the backyard. And I was like, oh, I can do that. So yeah, that's kind of where that came from. I taught karate for forever. And it was kind of a when all else fails situation where it was what I fell back on. It was, I guess, what I was best at, so it came naturally.
Okay. And so now what would be, being that you're a long-term thinker and in the short term you've been finding fulfillment teaching at rec centers and in parks, do I have to fill in these blanks myself here, or what is the long-term goal? Are you a guy who has his own franchise? Are you a guy who's having kids come to him instead of you driving to them? What's the big long-term goal here? Where are you going?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, obviously the goal for me is to get to a point where I have a school. Like I do enjoy the travel of it, but eventually, that's not really scalable. As far as a franchise goes, I don't know if I would be able to do a franchise. I don't know, maybe someday. I guess it's because I haven't had the time to teach somebody long enough that I would feel comfortable with them teaching somebody else what I taught them.
Sure.
But I would say the goal is to eventually be able to affect people in a positive way at a large scale. I think that's kind of why I wanted to start the YouTube is to eventually get to a point where like I could teach people as much as I could.
Sure.
I guess with minimal effort is the best way to put it.
The most bang for your buck. I get it. Sure.
If I had to drive to every person that I taught on YouTube, then it would be very difficult.
Now, just in case someone's listening and they're thinking, wait, this guy's 25, he's already talking about teaching and expanding his teaching. How long has this guy been training? What do you mean? That's arrogant. But you've been in this since the beginning because your first teachers were?
My father and my mother. Yep, both my mom and my dad taught me for a while. Let's see here. I started when I was 3, but like who can actually say if they started when they were 3? I started moving, I guess. I started seeing other kids do stuff when I was 3. I also apparently was like running around the dojo naked when I was a little bit younger than that. So who knows how good my karate training was. But I'm prepared. If that time ever needs to come, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, no, that's battlefield style. Braveheart, just go for it. Good for you.
Nobody wants to fight that guy. And then, so my mom and dad taught me for a while. And then my dad took over and taught me. I started teaching myself, started teaching the kids' classes when I was 14, 13-ish. Yep.
That'll make you grow up pretty fast. Yeah.
Sort of.
So you weren't a good teacher.
No, I was not. I was not a good teacher at all. I could demonstrate the movements, and I think that goes to speaking on how a good teacher needs to be a bunch of different things. I could demonstrate the movements really well, but as far as paying attention to the kids and stuff like that, not that great at it. Not back then.
Now, obviously, you've been teaching kids for a long time now, so you've gotten better and better as a teacher. And based on, I've heard you in interviews now and seen your blog and stuff, so I know you're the real deal when it comes to teaching kids. I've been doing that teaching children thing for a long time myself, and I recognize the things that you're saying. I'm like, yep, he knows what he's talking about. In fact, I always like to think, I haven't really talked about it much, but I think that teaching kids has been kind of my secret weapon in improving my own skills. And I'm just going to open that door to you for a moment. Can you speak to how teaching kids or watching how they develop, or how the way you've had to break down lesson plans to help them along has actually improved you as a martial artist as an adult? Is that fair?
Yes, it is absolutely fair. And I think it's because kids are so brutally honest with not everybody around them, but themselves too. Like if a kid's not getting something, they're going to just say why they don't understand it.
Sure.
And sometimes they'll have to just give you hints on why they don't understand it. They might not understand why they don't understand it. But adults are very easy they don't necessarily want to always admit that they don't get things, even myself. So I think that's one of the cool reasons that I like teaching kids and how it helps me teach myself even, is because if I'm not honest with myself, that could be better, if it just got to a point where I said with every kick that I threw, okay, that was a perfect one. Good. Bingo. Then I would be stuck. And what kids do is if you can, one, see it for yourself that they might not be getting something all the way, and they'll usually admit it. They'll get a little frustrated, but they'll admit it. And I think that was a really cool thing that I took away from the kids, is that they do a good job of letting either one, that you're not doing a good job teaching them, whether or not they're saying it,
right?
or two, that they need help in a different way. And I think it's a good way to open a door for yourself of understanding, oh, maybe I need help in a different way. maybe this way that I'm teaching other people isn't the most effective way. So I should start teaching myself a different way and kind of like test things out.
That's beautiful. That's so well said. Yeah, I think a lot of teachers, first of all, they don't even see teaching as a separate skill from their own martial arts skills. And so they don't treat it with that respect. And they kind of have their A game as a teacher. And then when there's a problem, they presume the problem is with the student, and no matter what the age is, as opposed to looking back on themselves and say, well, how am I communicating this? What's my part of this relationship?
Yeah.
And in looking at yourself in that reflection, you find other parts of yourself, which is exactly what the martial arts journey should be in the first place, right? It's forcing you into pressure to your A game doesn't work. So now what do you do? What's your B game? What's your C game? What else do you have as a human being?
Right.
And so I think the kids, because you get 10 kids in a room, you have 10 different personalities and 10 different learning styles and 10 different, so you have to be not one teacher, you have to be 10 different teachers. And not take that personally, like, yeah, it's just what you guys need. It's not what I need, it's what you need. And I'll meet you in the middle here and we'll figure out. So yeah, I can tell that you get that.
The open communication is huge. And it also gives me like, it kind of sets me up for eventually I do want to do seminars and do the circuits. And I've gotten a couple under my belt, but kids are awesome for that because like you explained it, like I could explain it this way to one kid and I could be like, okay, roundhouse kick. It's like you're swinging a baseball bat with your leg. And they're like, oh, yeah, okay, got that. And the next kid, I'm like, okay, it's like you're going to point your knee at their nose and then give it like a little flick. And they're like, oh, okay, I understand that. And, you know, each of these different ways you have to explain it is going to resonate with somebody else differently.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, very well said. So, okay, kids have helped influence your development. I've also seen pictures of you playing football, Division II football, college, yeah? So I saw one comment that you had made that said that your karate, that you were kind of an undersized for your position in football, and your karate helped you get through your football. I'm also curious about the flip side of that. What did football do to help your martial arts, if anything?
You dug deep. I'm impressed. I'm trying to think of where exactly you would have seen that from.
I called your mom.
You called my mom. Jeez, dang it, Mom. Giving all the secrets away. No, it did. It helped tremendously. It went back and forth too, where the training for each thing, while it was so different, it was really nice because I was an offensive lineman in college, which is a very sturdy, stoic position. And then in karate, our style was very flowing and rapid. So having those two different things that I could kind of play in the middle ground with, where I could be an offensive lineman that moved a little bit better. And that was actually my thing, is I was a pulling guard, which means I would move around behind everybody and then sneak up on the other side to block. And I would kind of be the lead guy for the running back. And then for karate, it was great because I would be able to flow around really nice and then stop and throw something a little more powerful. So the footwork especially is something that you have to focus on. And you understand that having your feet in the right place at the right time, having good leverage, knowing where your hips are, being able to bear a load or being able to push with your legs and stuff like that. It applies to both. And it's really cool because I think it was the first occurrence of me being like, okay, movement is movement. Like I've got my one body and I can make things from this work over here, which is something that has taken me, I'd say, pretty far as far as how I train martial arts.
Mm-hmm. Great, yeah. And just like we were saying about teaching styles, it sounds like the football gave you a B game. It's like, okay, well, I have this, but I also have that. So depending on my opponent or what my attacker, I've got different gears. The yin and the yang, I can play this two different ways, which makes you a much better martial artist. So
one of the best techniques that defensive linemen have in their arsenal is a push-pull technique, which is something that like a lot of people miss out on a lot. But essentially what it means is when I push somebody, their natural reaction is to push back. When I give them that push option, they start to push back, and you pull. It works great for trying to get past an offensive lineman. It works great for trying to use somebody's energy against them when they're trying to push you down. It moves all over the place.
Yeah, I don't think that trick ever gets old, does it?
No, it's such a
that is the core of all martial arts. To me, it's right. That's it.
Manage it really is.
Now, I heard you use the word sturdy. And I also have seen this phrase, chubby surprise, on your t-shirt. And can you tie sturdy into chubby surprise for me? What's chubby surprise all about?
chubby surprise is about looking much sturdier than you are, and then having a little bit of flow that goes with it. So for me, the chubby surprise is like a really cool thing. The backstory on that was essentially I got to spar with one of my favorite UFC fighters, and it was a YouTube thing, and it was a lot of fun. But in the process, I got a little bit closer than I think he thought that I could have kicked him from. And I managed to get him once, and that was all it took for me to be happy. But and it's not uncommon as a bigger guy who kicks a little bit higher and faster than the average person. So I know that I can usually land one. That first one is a little bit easier to get, not because I outskilled somebody, but because it was a bit of more of a surprise to him. So that's where the chubby surprise came from, is the ability to do something despite the looks.
Yeah, oh, I love that. Is that the Wonder Boy sparring stuff that you're talking about?
Yeah, that was
great
Wonder
videos.
Boy.
I love those. Everyone should check those out. Yeah, because how much do you weigh nowadays? What's your?
I dropped a little bit weight since quarantine started. I'm probably about 220 right now.
You've dropped weight since quarantine. Did everyone hear that? I hope everyone's inspired by that.
Yep, I did. It was just tons of shadow boxing and counting calories. And it ended up being easier than I thought it was going to be. I've been somebody who was like, I played football in college. I was 290 pounds. I've been as low as 190 pounds. I tried to do some bodybuilding stuff. I didn't like that. But then I usually float between like 210 and 240, depending on the season. Mm-hmm. So usually right around Christmas, I get a little bit up there. But no, yeah, quarantine was nice to me in that regard.
Mm-hmm. All right on.
Yeah,
I know that chubby surprise really resonates with me, not because I've ever been sturdy in my life, but the first form of martial arts I had was Taekwondo, and completely atypically, my instructor probably weighed 260 to 280, depending on the time I knew him. He just looked like this guy. This guy's not going to move. He's just, I can see he's a sumo wrestler build. But he could spin and kick you in the head, and it was just always a surprise. The chubby surprise. Not that I would call him chubby, but
not within kicking range.
No, but it was so strange to see like a style known for high flying and all that stuff. And he's such a big guy. So what a great way to combine powers on that, like Sammo Hung or one of these kinds of guys. It's just you could do everything. Like in Enter the Dragon, when you see Sammo Hung, he's so athletic, even though he doesn't look like he's worked out a day in his life. And you're like, that's phenomenal. I love that. Bruce Lee, clearly, like, if Bruce Lee rips off his shirt, he's standing there all ripped up, you're like, well, all right, now I got to fight. I got to pick up something to fight this guy, which could be a disadvantage, right? If you look like you can fight, you walk around with your Kempo shirt on, you're like, oh, this guy's a fighter. Let me pick up this bottle first. But if you're walking around a little doughy and just unassuming, then you already have a surprise weapon.
Exactly, right. So, and usually, I'm somebody, I guess, like, nobody's ever wanted to be in a fight with me, and who knows why? Maybe I'm just nice enough to people that it's okay. Maybe I'm a little bit bigger than the average person, but that's a great point. If anybody ever was like, I bet I can kick this guy's butt, and I'd be like, that's a great guess. Let's see.
Well, that's okay. You just opened up a door I was gonna get to. I'm happy you got there first, which is people don't want to beat you up. Now, you're a YouTube guy, you're an Instagram guy, you're putting out stuff that says, look at me, I can kick, baby, which can attract people who want to challenge you or call you a fake or, all that kind of stuff, the trolls and the haters, usually anonymous accounts and blah, blah, blah. But
private. Yep.
But I have found, on my channel, I present myself as honestly and as self-effacing as I can and with a smile, and I have found that I get very little hate, very little challenges, and I would say the same thing. I don't get people wanting to knock my block off. So
I get it every now and then. And to be fair, I can instigate a little bit, but any time that I'm instigating, it's usually for algorithm's sake. But for the most part, I do want to do my best to spread positivity a little bit. One of my things is that if you're happy and you can talk about it, then you might as well, because there's so many people who aren't. Like it's so easy to talk about when you get off a flight, you're like, that was the worst flight I've ever had, and tweet about it and be like, so-and-so airlines, you suck.
Right.
But you very rarely hear anybody who's like, that was a great flight. I flew through the air in a big metal machine, right? So I guess it's because I I think that positivity spreads positivity a little bit. And usually if I do get one of those comments, and sometimes I'll reply sarcastically, but sometimes for the most part, if I'll reply with something that's a little more thought-provoking, I guess is the way to do it, instead of just being like anger-provoking. And usually what will happen is those people will end up a little bit, I wouldn't say happier, but at least a little more thoughtful than they were before.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, is your experience similar to mine, where when I do get a hater, often just my reply to them, and I don't come back at them, taking the bait, I'll just say, oh, okay, do what works for you, that's fine. And then they'll reply, oh, I'm sorry, I do love your channel, it was just, this particular thing, I just wanted to say that. Oftentimes when you just give them that little bit of love back, that's really what they wanted. It wasn't about the issue at all. It was just, hey, can I get your attention for a second? You're like, yeah, you can. It's okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I mean, I see a lot, like I see the kids in karate class, like a lot of them just want that little bit of attention that may not be getting at home, so they act out a little bit, and then you got to be like, yeah, I get it. Hey, what's up? And that's one thing that I admire about you that I really need to work on is I still have a little bit of that sarcasm to me. I gotta work on my sarcasm just a bit, especially in the comments.
Well, this is why I hate you, because it took me, I didn't start my YouTube channel until I was in my 40s. And before that, I was not as nice, because I was pure sarcasm and and I'll show you I'm better than you and smarter than you. And I lived a long time kind of on that dark side. And or hiding altogether, because I couldn't trust what I was going to say, or I couldn't tolerate other people, or I was impatient with other people. And it took me until I got older to really figure out, like, oh, I see, it's my fault. It's not that everyone's an idiot and everyone's stupid and why don't they understand me. This goes back to the teaching thing. It's like, no, but it's how I'm presenting. I'm coming in with attitude and insecurities and ego. If I can just relax and let them be who they are, then they'll let me be who I am. And then we can, again, meet in the middle and everything works out. So that's where the happy life came from. It's a reminder to me all the time to say, hold on, start with a smile.
Right.
That's going to usually disarm most people. And if it doesn't, that's fine, because I'm happier anyway, and it's better for me. And honestly, I mean, I've said it before, I mean, the YouTube experience, it's easy to be, YouTube people and shallow and social media. It's like, absolutely not. It has been the deepest connection I've had with people my entire life. And when I recognize the same kind of vibe, that's why I wanted to talk to you, because I'm like, look at this. I mean, but at 25, that's what guys, you're so far ahead of me. You're literally decades ahead of me, with the wisdom to understand the power of a smile and the power of positivity, and to start planting those seeds at this point of your life. My shrub's only going to grow so big, and I'm only going to eat so many berries off of that shrub. You have a chance to really feast on berries for many years to come. So I envy you that, and good for you, sir.
I appreciate that. And to talk about what you mentioned before with the sarcasm thing, I guess it's because being in front of the people, like, and then kind of like trying to think about why I'm responding the way I'm responding, is whenever you respond with like the sarcasm and stuff like that, I can feel it, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna say this, and it's super ego based. Like it is super ego based, and what happens is, like, I get something out of it, and I feel like I look cooler. But in all actuality, this person doesn't think any different of me, and who knows, this person might still go and just go on to the next comment section and be upset and mad and frustrated. And I guess I'm just trying to take advantage of the people who came before me and got to teach on YouTube and got to teach in karate and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to take notes, that's all.
Well, you're doing great. And clearly the fact that people don't want to beat you up is, like, that's one way you can measure. When you look at your video ratings, whether they're thumbs up or thumbs down, if you have a high rating of most people like your videos and people aren't coming just to slam you like other channels, that's a good measure. That's, I think, legit. Like, wow, I'm attracting other nice people. So I must be doing something nice. And that only builds more momentum. Like, it's okay to let that part of you out. It's okay to, you always have this. Here's the thing. It's like punching. It's just like martial arts. You can knock someone's block off. You don't lose that power by holding back once in a while. It's like, I don't have to punch you right now. That's where my power comes from, that I'm not going to be predictable to say, oh, you make me mad, I'm going to knock your block off. It's like, oh, you push me, you spit in my face, but I take a breath first, let's say, in theory. Sure. So I have a choice now. I can knock your block off, or maybe I offer you a cup of coffee, or maybe I just walk away, or whatever that is. Maybe I cluck like a chicken. Whatever I want to do, but the power is now on me. It's still within me. And so that, I think, is the when you can do that, you still have your sarcasm, you still have your wit. You'll never lose it. It's there.
Right. Yeah.
However, now you can be really smart about when to deploy it and how to use it the best. So it's just like any other weapon. So
makes sense. No, yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Put you in the driver's seat of your emotions.
That's it. Because look, I mean, it's the same if you're sparring with somebody. If you get drawn out, like I listened to that interview that you did with your dad. And in that interview, you said that it's very rare for you to get kicked in the head. You said the only guy who really kicks me in the head is this guy who I'm standing with in the shed. Yeah. And your dad made a great point, if you remember. Maybe it haunts you to this day. I don't know. He said,
"Of course it does."
Yeah, he said he kind of knew which triggers made you freeze or made you flinch a certain way, and he already knew that, so he could take advantage of that and land those kicks.
Yeah, exactly.
So against most people, when you have skills, they won't even recognize how to take advantage of something or how to set you up. But for the people who are at a higher skill level, maybe like Wonder Boy or someone like that, or I don't mean to say that he's higher skill, you have different skills, so I didn't mean it like that. Well, in that kickboxing sparring match, the way you guys were, under those rules, let's say.
Sure.
I'm fair to everybody. Hey, you're awesome too, right?
Right.
If you can find those things, like you said, upon reflection, like, well, what makes me freeze? What makes me angry? What makes me predictable?
Yeah, right.
What makes me have a knee-jerk reaction that comes out of my body? And I was like, oh, that was not the right move. Oh, now he took me down. Isn't that the whole point of this journey?
Yeah, right.
And that starts with your emotions. You're hiding there behind your gloves, but you're angry, or you're panicking, or you want to show up this guy, or there's people in the room and you want to show off. All that stuff influences how you're fighting, and that could get you into a lot of trouble. So
yeah, it really can.
Absolutely. Yep. The way you speak is the way you fight, and the sooner we connect those things, I think. Hey, this turned into my interview. Damn, sorry. You take it. Let's go back to you.
Yeah, right. No, it's just extreme, brutal honesty with yourself, and I think that's where it's hard for a lot of people, is to just get to a point where you admit when you're wrong, or you admit like your shortcoming, and that's the hardest part. Is when it's not like you made a wrong decision. It's when like you have something that's habitually something that you do that is either detrimental to yourself or others. It's really hard to be like, oh yeah, this thing that I've been doing for a long time is it's no bueno. It's not good, and now I've got to change it. It's a hard concept to grasp, and it's I feel like it's very difficult for everybody. But the first step of like just that honest conversation with yourself, which makes you seem a little crazy, but it is great.
Not at all. Do you still take critical thinking walks? I think I heard you refer to it once.
I do.
Walks, or?
I'm all about them, honestly.
Sell me on that. Sell me on that idea. What's up?
Okay, so essentially what I do is I enjoy moving, and I hate like sitting still for too long. I'm not big on. It's one of the reasons I didn't like my MBA process, is because I was sitting still the whole time. Karate is really fun for me because it's critical thinking as you're moving your body. I'm a very like I'm moving my hands right now. So the walk was really cool because I get to move and then let my movements be. I suppose what's happening is I'm moving my body, but at the same time I'm doing something that's very pattern based. Like it's just a step, a step, a step, a step. I'm not thinking about where I'm taking my step. So my thought process can go somewhere else while I'm moving my body. And I pretty much, I take away, it might be this, I'm taking away the ability for my body to be doing other things. Like right now I'm playing with a string on my shorts. Like I'm tapping my foot. But if I take that away, like it gives more thought process to, just what's going on in the old brain piece. So that's what I enjoy about it.
Excellent. So is that something you ever recommend to your adults or children? Do you have a walk as part of the thing, just a walking meditation, as opposed to sitting down and trying to stay still?
I haven't. And that's a great idea. Because like go for a walk is just like something that I'm going to start doing that.
So I just want to be clear. It's like, this is the most powerful tool I have in my life. I never tell my students about it.
I've never told anybody about it. Yeah, I guess there's some things that you don't recognize are really powerful to you, or maybe you assume that everybody does it. But yeah, no, it's a great point.
On the other hand, the kids have enough movement. That's their problem. They need to slow down and just try to focus their brain. So
kids move all the time. They've got to be the opposite.
Right. Well, maybe that's the proof that it's when do you learn the most? When you're a child. So they're combining movement and thinking, and they're not letting one part of their body dominate the conversation. The body opens up different things, distracts them in a healthy way. So your monkey brain isn't always just like picking away, oh, you're such a loser, oh, you're such a loser. But you're moving too. So, well, I'm doing this. This is fun. And then you have a different hormone release, and then your thoughts change, and they help one another. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me get into something technical. While I have the great Sensei Seth here, a man world famous for his kicking skills.
In this conversation, I'm just Seth Adams.
Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
How?
100%.
Because I'm older, Sensei, born before. I'm older than you.
It has nothing to do with that. No, I take it as like the teacher, the student type deal. Like I see myself as a student in this situation.
As do I. That's why we get along so well. We'll be a mutual humility society.
Yeah,
but
there we go.
I hope that there will be someone hearing this conversation who will say, hey, that's a good idea. Maybe I'll go for a walk right now. And you will be the guy who put that in their head. So, Sensei, let me ask you a technical question.
Yeah, they have to call me Sensei.
Right. No, we all learn from each other. Everyone's my Sensei. That's the way I see it. Yeah. What is your biggest obstacle at this point in your life? What is vexing you? What's keeping you from getting to that next level of fulfillment? What are you working on right now that you're trying to figure out? Maybe someone can help.
I'd say it's definitely fear for me. A lot of the stuff that I won't do is based off of like fear, whether I think I've gotten past fear of what people will think. I feel like that's less of it. I really want to compete at some point. I'd always competed in football, and I don't want to like compete on a regular basis. I don't want to be that like my livelihood is me competing. I want to do it a couple times though, at least, and just like have that experience. I think one of the reasons that I hadn't for the longest time was because of fear. Fear of the unknown for me is usually my big issue. Like, what will happen? I could get my butt kicked, and then everything that I've ever done is going to feel like it's nothing. Like that would feel like starting over, or would it? I don't know. So for me, that's probably one of them. There was a long time where there were a lot of projects that I wanted to do, but the fear of it flopping was a big stopping point for me, where I'd be like, I don't know, people probably won't want to see it. And then I will have made it, and I would have put all that time in, which is so funny because, wasting all that time is just as bad as putting the time in and having nothing come of it.
Sure.
But yeah, I'd say that's probably my biggest thing.
That's interesting because I'm wondering how many people would be surprised to hear that fear is a part of your life, because you're so great at putting yourself out there. Whether it's just your very casual blog, talking from your car, or doing these really incredible, showing mistakes as you're building up to these spectacular kicks that you do, and showing the behind the scenes on that. Even singing, I believe, Disney songs.
Disney's my jam, for sure.
Yeah, right? So you put all that stuff up there. So I think that might make people feel pretty good that it's just such a universal thing. Fear of failure, or fear of exposure, whatever that is, that even you still have that.
Yeah. Big fear is the big one for me, for sure. And you could argue that it's what causes the angst in so much people is that like underlying feeling of like what is going to go wrong, what could go wrong, what feels wrong, stuff like that.
Sure, absolutely. Well, good luck with that.
Thanks. Yeah, appreciate it.
What's the remedy for it? I think it's just action. Just keep taking action.
Go on long walks.
And long walks by yourself. Long cries.
Honestly, the answer for me has always just been to do it. And one of my favorite quotes, and I'm going to butcher it, and I know I'm going to butcher it because I always do, but it's the that courage is not having no fear, but having fear, but still acting on it, or something like that. But yeah.
We get it. Yeah, that's wise. Well, I just want to thank you, Sensei. Sensei, that's right. I said it. I want to thank you because I know on your website, the tagline up there, it says student first, which is always great. Instructor, great. I think I agree with that. And then you have influencer with a question mark on it. It says influencer.
Influencer? Yeah, right.
Which that troubled me a little bit because it's humble, but I need you to start accepting this incredible work that you're doing as an ambassador for the martial arts, number one, just to say, here's a friendly, generous, kind spirit in the martial arts world, which is always helpful to all of us in the martial arts world. But also just as a human being, to say, I'm a guy who can show you where I'm working and show you behind the scenes and show you me making mistakes, being great with kids, training the next generation, and just being such a light in a world that's so often crazy and dark. So I thank you for the work you're doing. I would change that question mark to an exclamation point. How about that?
The reason that I can get on board with that, the reason that I have an exclamation or that I have a question mark there is because of the word that comes along with influencer. So I accept the role of it. Like for me, influencer is as basic as has influenced someone. So with that idea, I'm cool with it. I don't necessarily, I think a lot of people think of it as influence someone to buy something is like the average thought process that anyone who consumes social media gets. Like they hear influencer and they're like, oh, okay, so you try and get people to buy stuff, or you run ads on your page is essentially what that means. That's like what I hear as the first thought. So that's why I have the question mark. But I do think I'm an influencer because the word just means to influence in some way, whether it's, through learning how to kick stuff, or whether it's through recommendations for things or how to do stuff, or overall guidance in a way, hopefully is what I'm trying to get past. But yeah, so I will accept your role, sir. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'd like to see you log on today and change that question mark to an exclamation point. Then I'll know my work here is done.
Okay, I'll send you a screenshot. I'll get that for you.
And you do have courses for sale, and you do have affiliate links to some product and stuff. So if people want to support you in that way, then I certainly hope they do, because it seems like your mission is a pure and good-hearted one. So I hope they will.
I appreciate that.
Is there any information that people need to get in touch with you for private lessons, for seminars, workshops? Get your stuff. What is it? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so the easiest way for anybody to get in touch with me is definitely on Instagram at Sensei_Seth. While you're there, you can check out some of the tutorials that I put up, some of the bottle kicky tricks that I put up. Then, of course, you can go to the website. You can go to senseisethadams@gmail.com. The best way to do it is definitely Instagram DM, and I'll meet you there.
All right. Well, thank you very much for being here, Sensei. I hope we can cross paths again.
Yes, for sure. I appreciate you letting me on.
All right. Have a great day, sir. Thanks.
Yeah, you too.
Boy, oh boy. I wish I had been as wise and as positive as Sensei Seth when I was 25. But the good news is I found out it's never too late to cross the street and start walking on the sunny side. If you liked today's show, thanks for sharing with a friend. That means a lot. Until next time, smiles up, my friend. Let that smile be your shield and your sword. Keep fighting for a happy life.